Hello everyone. So this again we are talking about relationships, and we will deep dive into more about relationships. Try this. Make your conversation into a gift. Ideally, you try to do this in a conversation regularly. By this time, do it with focus and intention. Pick a moment you have coming up with someone important to you, a friend, a relative, your partner. Maybe it's a meal or walk you'll be taking together. During this time, shut off your phone. Give all your focus to other person. Instead of having an agenda, be curious. If a topic doesn't merge, ask them open-ended questions to land on the subject that's important to them. What's on your mind lately? How's your relationship with X? Listen carefully. Ask follow-up questions. Share your own experiences without turning the conversation to yourself. A few days later, email or text a friend to follow up. The world was a very different place when Updeshmatra was written. Of course, I interpret this exchange of food broadly to mean the exchange of experiences. Any tangible expression of care and service that nourishes body or spirit, like giving a massage, creating a relaxing space for other person in a home, or putting on music you know they enjoy. On a grander scale, my wife left her beloved family and moved to New York so she could live with me. An expression of care and generosity that nurtured me more than I can say. Once we were in New York, I introduced her to other women to help her find a community. The experiences we exchanged didn't have to be perfectly matched. We look for what the other person needs most. These six exchanges can be thoughtless and empty, or they can have true depth and meaning. But don't judge people's effort without giving them a chance to succeed. Nobody can read minds. If your roommate or a partner doesn't guess that you want them to organize your birthday party, it's not their fault. Instead, be clear and honest with them about what you need. Try this. Ask for what you want. Tell the important person in your life how you like to receive love. When we don't tell people what we want, we expect them to read our minds and often judge them for failing to do so. This week, be more genuine in asking people for help rather than waiting for them to predict what you want. Think of complaint you have about a loved one's behavior, but don't look too hard for the faults. If nothing springs to mind, that's a great sign, and you should skip this exercise. Dig to the roots of the problem. Where is the real dissatisfaction? Dissatisfaction. You might find that your need corresponding to the loving exchange. Do you want more time to share and connect? Conversation. Do you feel unappreciated? Gifts. Do you want more support, food, and other acts of service? Articulate it without criticism. Say, this is what would make me feel more loved and appreciated instead of you do this wrong. In this way, you give a companion a path to connect, which is easier for them and more likely to fulfill you. Ready for love. The six loving exchanges lays a foundation for any close relationship, but most of us are looking for the one. The Harvard Grant Study followed 268 Harvard undergrads for 75 years, collecting pile of data about them along the way. When researchers compared through through the data, they found a single factor that reliably predicted the quality of participants' lives. Love. Participants could have every other external marker for success: money, a thriving career, good physical health. But if they didn't have loving relationships, they weren't happy. We all come to relationships with different level of self-awareness. With the encouragement of online quizzes and dating apps, we list the characteristics we want in a partner: sense of humor, caring, good looks. But we do not look at what we really need. How do we want to be cared for? What makes us feel loved? In How to Love, Thich Nhat Hanh writes, often we get crushes on others not because we truly love and understand them, but to distract ourselves from our sufferings. When we learn to love and understand ourselves and have true compassion for ourselves, then we can truly love and understand other person. After the ashram, when I was ready for a relationship, which was not as some friends assumed the moment I left, my sense of what I wanted in a partner was steered by self-knowledge. I knew what would complement me and what wouldn't. I knew what I needed in my life and what I had to offer. My ability to find the right relationship evolved because I had evolved. As it happened, Radhi Devlukya, the woman who would become my wife, already had this self-knowledge too. Without the need for same journey I had made, she knew she wanted to be with someone spiritually connected, with high morals and values. I believe she would have done just fine without me, but I knew my life would have been different, full of pain, if I hadn't taken the time to work on myself before diving into the serious relationship. According to the Massive Attack, love is a verb. Done in real life says love is an ability. The Dalai Lama says love is the absence of judgment. Love is also patient, it's kind. And apparently love is all you need. With so much definition of love in our culture, it's all a bit confusing. And I was confused despite all my mock experience, my self-exploration and intentionality and compassion when I ventured out on my first date back in London. I hadn't had any relationships since becoming a monk. I had yet to reconcile who I was spiritually with how I used to date. I felt like I had one foot in each world. In spite of my monk training, I snapped right back into my old relationship mode. The one where I tried to give the other person what media, movies, and music told me they wanted instead of developing my awareness of who they were. I myself love gifts and extravagant demonstrations of love, and for a while I cluelessly continued to shower Radhi with grand gestures. I got it completely wrong. She wasn't impressed by any of that. She is not very fancy. Even after many years in ashram, I could still be swayed by external influences or my own preferences rather than careful observation of what she liked. But after my initial missteps, I was aware enough to figure it out, and thank God she married me. If you don't know what you want, you will send out the wrong signals and attract the wrong people. If you aren't self-aware, you will look for the wrong qualities and choose the wrong people. This work is what we have talked about throughout this book. Until you understand yourself, you won't be ready for love. Keeping love alive. Remember when we talked about the mind? We said that happiness comes when we are learning, progressing, and achieving. And yet, as a relationship lengthens, we tend to long for honeymoon phase when we were first falling in love. How many times have you been in a relationship and said to yourself, I wish I could feel like that again, or I wish we could go back into that time? But going to same place for the dinner or to the place you had your first date won't bring back all the magic. Many of us are so addicted to recreating the same experiences that we don't make space for the new ones. What you were actually doing at the start of your relationship was creating new memories with energy and openness. Love is kept alive by creating more new memories, by continuing to learn and grow together. Fresh experiences bring excitement into your life and build a stronger bond. I have many recommendations for activities couples can do together, but here are couples of my favorite, drawn from monk principles. First, find new in the old. Remember when, as a monk, we looked for a special stone on the same walk we took together every day. You too can open your eyes to the world you already live in. Have a candlelight dinner in the middle of the week. Read a book to each other before the bed instead of staring at your phones. Take a walk together in the neighborhood and challenge each other to find a certain kind of mailbox or to be the first to spot a bird. Find new ways to spend time together. A study by psychologist author Oren found that couples strengthen their bonds when they do new and exciting activities together. My wife and I started to do escape room together. An escape room is a game where you both locked in a room and have to find a way out. The staff gives you a few clues and you have to work together to solve many steps of puzzles. It may sound a little tricky, but it's actually a lot of fun. You get to learn together, you get to make mistakes together. It's an even play field when neither of you have more experience or expertise than the other. When you experiment together as a couple, you feel yourself growing together in all areas of your life. You can even try something really scary together, like skydiving or something else that's outside your comfort zone. My most bonding experience in mock life came about when I took part in a collective projects, the horrid 2-day train journey, and I have mentioned planting trees together, building a school. Instead of focusing on the challenges of relationship, we develop a shared perspective on real life issues. Connecting for a higher purpose, we feel gratitude, bringing that back into our relationship. I know many couples who have met through volunteers. So if you're looking for a well-suited partner, find a cause that is close to your heart. If you meet through an activity such as volunteering from the start, you already have something very deep in common, and you are more likely to form a deep bond. Meditate and chant together. When a couple who had just had an argument comes into a room, you can feel the negative energy vibrating between them. The opposite is true when you and your partner chant together. You bring your energy to the same place and feel literally tuned with each other. Finally, envision together what you both want from the relationship. When you are aware of what is important to each other, then you can figure out how much you're willing to adapt. Ideally, each of you is starving to live in your own dharma. In the best of the relationships, you get there together, overcoming heartbreak. It can be hard to see clearly when your heart is at stake, but there's one point I want to make abundantly clear. There's a difference between being grateful for what you have and settling for less than you deserve. If we are still listening to our child minds, we are attracted to people who aren't good for us, but make us feel better in the moment. Don't wrap your self-esteem around someone else. Nobody deserves verbal, emotional, or physical abuse. It's better to be alone. Nor should you allow an abusive, manipulative, or toxic relationship to transition into friendship. The dynamic won't change, trust me. In every relationship, you have the opportunity to set the level of joy you expect and the level of pain you will accept. No relationship is perfect, but if joy never reaches a certain height or holds to a low average, that won't change unless you both put in a lot of work. The same is true for how much disappointed you are willing to bear. Your connection may get slow start. It can take a while to know each other, but if it never reaches a satisfying level, you need to decide whether to accept it or move on. I know it's not easy. When you have spent quality time with someone, when you have invested in someone, when you have given yourself to someone, it's so hard to let go. Tibetan Buddhist nun Jetsuman Tenzin Palmo points out that we often mistake attachment for love. She says we imagine that the grasping and clinging that we have in our relationships shows that we love, whereas actually it is just attachment which causes pain, because the more we grasp, the more we are afraid to lose. Then if we do lose, then of course we are going to suffer. Ultimately, holding on to the wrong person causes us more pain than letting them go. The strategy I recommend to overcoming heartbreak tie directly to mock idea of self and how we find our way towards peace and purpose. No matter what thought we have, we don't run away from it. We give ourselves space to assess and make changes. What? Stop, swap. Feel every emotion. It's possible to distract yourself from heartbreak fix, but the fix is only temporary. And if you deny your feelings, you end up suffering in other ways. Researchers followed incoming college freshmen to see how well they adapted to their transition and found that those with a tendency to suppress their emotions have fewer close relationships and felt less social support. Instead, think about how the other person has made you feel in this situation. You might want to articulate your feelings, but writing them down or recording them, read what you have written and listen back objectively. Do you hear any recurring patterns? You can also do a question meditation. Ask yourselves about the loss. We like to replay emotions, how perfect it was, how it could have been, how we thought it was going to go. Instead of reflecting on how romantic the relationship was before it crashed and burned, focus on the reality. What were your hopes for the relationship? What did you lose? Is your disappointment tied to who the person was or who they were? Explore your emotions until you uncover the root of the pain and deception. Learn from the situation. Movies, music, and other media send us limited, often inaccurate message about what love should look like. Use the reality of breakup to set realistic expectations about what you deserve and need from the new relationship. And remember that yours can be different from the person you broke up with and or next person to come along. What was the biggest expectations you had that wasn't met? What was important to you? What was the good in the relationship? What was bad? What was role in its demise? Instead of exploring your pain here, you want to investigate the working of relationship in order to identify what you want from your next relation and what you might have to work on in yourself. Believe in your worth. You may undervalue yourself in a moment of breakup, but your value doesn't depend on someone's ability to fully appreciate you. If you wrap your identity around the relationship, The pain you feel is that you have had to sacrifice the part of your identity. If you expected one person to fulfill all your needs, then of course there is a vacuum when they are gone. Wait before dating again. Remember, if you haven't healed past pain, you might miss your next opportunity for an incredible connection with an incredible person. Don't rebound on revenge date. This only causes more hurt and regret that spread further, a virus of pain. Instead, take some time to get to know yourself better, build your self-esteem, and invest in your growth. If you have lost yourself in a relationship, find yourself in the heartbreak. The mock way is to build awareness, address, and amend. Either within a relationship or before we enter one, we take a step back to evaluate and make sure we understand our own intentions. Then we can venture in dating world or return to the relationship with self-awareness and love. Spot, stop, swap. We have turned our attention outwards to address the intimate relationships in our lives. Now we come to our relationship with the larger world. I mentioned that at the ashram, I felt a bond beyond my ties to my family, a far greater force uniting and connecting us all. The astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson said, "We are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. Knowing this, we must look to the universe to find true meaning in our lives." Thank you.